be aligned with their mission. What if your story was told to women all over the world? What if you were a best-selling author in the next book series, Women Gone Wild? Well, you have an opportunity to be part of this movement to inspire more women with your story. We are in the Wild series. Wealth book just launched. Next year in 2023, intuition, and then following is leadership and diversity. It's time for us women to come together, to support each other, and to share our wild stories. I look forward to learning more about you and hearing your wild stories so that women of the world can be connected. Yeah, let's do this. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wild Wednesday. This is our weekly mastermind that we do, that I do, and I bring on unbelievable guests. Today, I do have a secret guest. However, if any of you were invited here and you're like, what's going on here today? And it was like Rhonda in the raw, I decided that I wanted to come out here by myself and to really speak some truth, speak some life into all of us. We are not only, this is our book series that we're in of women that have completely chosen that role of being wild. But what does it actually mean? And this conversation is going to be about your call. What is actually happening right now in your life? And maybe are you having the results that you want in your life? Are you having the relationships you want in your life? Are you having the finances that you want in your life? See, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for over 18 years. And there's one thing that I have learned. And that is, if we are not living our values, if we are not living it, everything suffers. Our relationships suffer, our finances suffer, and our businesses suffer. The world right now is in a major shift, right? I want to reward us all to say, way to go, way to be here. In this shift, in this most miraculous, unbelievable time in our life right now. Now, some of you might be going, oh, Rhonda, no way. Like, this is not an unbelievable time in my life. This has been a really, really hard year. It's been a hard year for everyone. But guess what? Your life and how you see what's going on, whether it's hard, easy, in flow, is a perception of how you are feeling within this space right now. It's how you're perceiving what's going on in the world. This year for us has been crazy, right? It feels like I've been on a whirlwind. I'm like, how in the heck is it November 1st? How many of you guys have been feeling that way? And if you have been, put it in the comments because you're all over right now on social media. Please share this too, because I'm going to be dropping not wisdom bombs because that's pretty egotistical. I'm going to be sharing more deeply of my heart of what's really happening now and how we can be the chosen ones to rise, to shift what's going on right now in the world, to shift the way we're perceiving what this year's been like or what 2024 is going to be like. And then how do we come together and stand? Now, my message is for all of us, but today I'm talking to the women. I'm talking to the mothers. I'm talking to the leaders. I'm talking to you, the change makers in this world. Because there are definitely some things that are going on in the world right now, especially in what I see every day in women in business, mothers that are leading, families, parents, spiritual leaders, community leaders. There's some things happening right now in our world that isn't quite working. And today I want to bring up more so this area of alignment. Every one of us women, there's a reason why I have this book, and I'm going to share the story exactly where it came from and why. But we've been called if you aren't having the results, and I don't mean financial results, so don't use that in a twisted entrepreneur way, because we're going to dive deep today with my guest about this entrepreneur way that we feel the words that we say have such different meaning, it seems as if in this entrepreneur space. Now I'm putting that entrepreneur space right here because that is the old way of thinking. Now we're moving into this new earth, this new space of how we as women, as families, as business owners can lead, can grow, but can also leave such a major impact on the world that our finances are in complete flow. If you're ready for that, say it in the comments of where you're watching, because this is where we're at today. So let's just look at alignment, right? Most of us now are not aligned in our faith, in our belief systems, and we're not following a code. See, I started this Women Gone Wild book series, and really it's a wild woman movement because I also was leading on the front. I'm like, I'm leading, I'm charging. Yet what was happening? I wasn't fully aligned in every areas of my life. So I was having this disjointed relationships with women. Now, we can talk about the patriarchy. We can blame all the bullshit. We can say that equal rights, right, we don't have equal rights yet. The amendment hasn't been even passed. That's bullshit as far as I'm concerned, especially as a woman that is aligned to helping lead other women and guiding them into their fullest, most beautiful, wild stuff. See, there's a couple things that we follow when it comes to our wild woman, let's say, framework. And this is where this book came from, right? The Wild series is wealth, a woman that is redefining wealth. Like, what does wealth really mean to you? Because what happens is I'm seeing so many amazing women in our space that they want everything and they're sharing their story and their message, but they're not having, let's say, financial results. Maybe their relationships are off. See, if we are not following the code every single day, and let's just say it's the wild way, right? Because we are women that redefine wealth. We tap into our intuition. We truly align and listen to our intuition. We stand strong in our leadership and we embrace diversity. So these are the 4 areas that we talk about being a wild woman, a woman that is leading, that is ready to rise. See, all of us at our core have actually been brought onto this planet to lead, to rise. Yet, why is it so often, and how often am I seeing women that are just, they're doing the things, but they're not having the life results? And it all comes down to one thing. It's, are you truly being that new earth leader? Are you being the woman that is radiating with unbelievable, not only frequency, but positivity, goodness, giving impact to the world? And are you selling or are you leading? There's 2 differences here today. And I had a very big shift with my guest that's going to come on because we were talking about entrepreneurship. And she was like, gosh, I watch these entrepreneurs. She had a company at a very young age, at 11 years old. I've been watching these entrepreneurs. I'm getting a little bit turned off. Is the way that they talk and the things that they do. And it made me start to shift and go, whoa, 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 what's going on? See, when the world starts to unfold, what are people looking towards? What are they looking for, right? The world is like coming out and unfluffing, if you will. And what happens? People are searching for leadership. They're searching for guidance. So if you are, let's say you're a coach or you're a consultant, you run a company, it's not about what you sell. It's not about the things that you do. It's who you are. So what happens? The world starts to unfold. People are looking for guidance. They're looking for leadership. And if you haven't stood up and taken that ticket that says, I'm here as a leader, especially as women, I'm here as a leader to show the path. Now, you could be in any industry, but it's your leadership, how you're coming forward with not only your passion, but your framework. Look, if you're standing on stages or if you're trying to sell to someone and you are not healthy, whether it's your mind, it's your body, it's your spirit, guess what? It's your frequency. That's what's coming out. So then you say, oh, people just aren't buying. So we're buying to the excuse that the economy's upside down, that people just aren't spending money anymore. And it's absolutely not true. You know what it is? You're not showing up healthy, with a healthy mind, healthy faith, healthy spirit, and believing in your work so much that you know the impact you're going to leave on someone's life will change their life, their business, their relationship for the better. See, remember that old bubble of entrepreneurialism I had over there? I call it, I've been in digital marketing, guys, for since 2004, before it was cool, right? Before it was a thing, before the internet actually was a real thing. Well, it was a real thing before we were able to really tap into it. And this bro marketing way, there are unbelievable people in this space. And I have been friends with many of them. Russell Brunson with ClickFunnels, he's making a big difference because he's created something people can leverage and they can use, right? Sam Evans, he's created this platform called School so people can tap in, build their community, they can leverage, they can use it. However, what I'm finding so often is that we lean into the sales tactics, the sales techniques, but we forget about the impact that we can leave on someone. We fall into this old way of, the benefits and the features of what I do and the results. You're going to have money, you're going to do this. And we forget that people are choosing you, whether you're a coach, consultant, you have a service-based business, because of who you are, because of who we are as entrepreneurs, how we're leading, how we're showing up to the world for ourselves is how we will then show up for others. It's why our communities, it's why our clients, they choose us because of who we're being, not because of what we're selling, not because of what we say we do, but because of who we are and who we're being. You guys feeling this right now? See, I've been feeling a shift. I work with women. We run a branding and PR firm, so we do a lot of PR and branding, and help people get publicized, and I help them get the celebrity status by being featured in articles. And I had a major shift this last year. I was like, you know what? I'm shrinking my company down to a raisin. I'm tired of offering and selling things to people that are not living the way, the wild way, right? The wild way, where they're redefining their own definition of wealth. They feel into their intuition. Men too, standing in leadership. Leadership isn't just a word, it's a verb. Just like love isn't just a word, it's a verb. Your relationships become better when you are the verb of love, right? Because it takes action, it takes belief, it takes total conviction in what we are, in how we do it, and what we do every day. That's leadership. And then embracing the diversity of the world. My goodness, I'm not even going to talk about what's going on in the world right now, because it's all a distraction. Now, I'm not saying that the things that are happening are not important to focus on yet. What I will say is this: if we want to see and be the shift in the world right now, then we have to focus on the change that we can make within ourselves. Because the moment we do that and stop bitching or complaining or saying, like fighting for one side or the other, fight for humanity, then all we're doing is we're being distracted. I have a beautiful feed. If you're on my Facebook, put a comment there. If you're on anywhere else, this is showing up. I have the most beautiful feed. I don't see the combativeness. I don't see the fights or the people that are, hey, you're this way, or this, this religion or this group of people, this ethnicity doesn't deserve to live. The moment that shit comes on my feed, it's gone. I delete it. I take that person off. Not because I don't believe in what you say, because it's a distraction of me leading every day for myself, for my family, and for my community. You see, the more we get aligned with who we are, what we believe in, the things that we have, the better and the more beautiful our world is. But more beautiful, our world, meaning our world, what's within us, our relationships improve, our finances improve, our life improves, our health improves. I don't know how many of you have ever sat and watched, someone on stage and they come in and they're trying to teach you to have a better life or finances, but they're unhealthy looking. You know that their life is unhealthy. Do you trust them? I see people every day saying yes. And they're like, I'm saying yes. But then they fold off and then they say no. Now, all of you as business owners, you've seen this, right? And you're like, I thought they were so in. I thought they were ready to go. Like they said they wanted it. But what's going on? It's the leadership. It's the leadership of you that's guiding their yes and their no. Because if you're uncertain and you're struggling in your life or you're struggling mentally, they're feeling that. And they're not moving forward, not because it's their yes or their no. It's because you're not guided by the framework, your own personal framework. I live by the wild framework every day, right? I'm like, I don't compare myself to anyone's wealth. My wealth is mine. It's what it means to me. It's my family is healthy. My relationships are beautiful. The memories I collect become so much more financially, abundant and beautiful than any form of money. Every day I stop and I listen. I pray, whatever your spirituality is. I pray, I tap into my intuition. I say, God, give me source. Source, give me the message. And I listen because I create space. And I'll tell you, every day I struggle. Every day I struggle with my leadership. Where are you going? What do you want? Who can you be for people? How, Rhonda, can you lead more women to step in to the most beautiful place, which is giving life, mothers giving birth? And I often see women having children and they're bitching and they're complaining and they're unhealthy. They're not listening. They're telling their kids what to do. They're bitching at their husband for not putting the dishes away. Like, whoa, sister, how? How can anyone follow you or us if we're not leading ourselves to the magic? And then the most important, the framework that I follow is I embrace the diversity. I listen to others. Now, I don't have to believe in it all, but I'm open to understanding what other people are going through. See, this is the magic. You guys feeling this right now? This is the magic. And this is something that I go through every day. And, I'm not perfect. I'm not on my soapbox. I'm on my, that space where I'm feeling like the message deserves to come through because we women have been chosen to serve. We have been chosen to rise. Hey, sister, what's happening, ladies? So good to see all of you here today. Yeah. And now it's time for our calling. It's time for our calling. And how do we do that? First off, we have a shift from this old way of entrepreneurialism. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's bro because the sisters have been there too. I was one of them where you're just thinking about the money, the bottom line. And then there's this new way, this new frequency, this new earth paradigm, this new form of leadership, this new way that the earth is going to run, the world and humanity is going to work with. That's high levels of frequency because we have true belief in ourselves. And so I'm going to bring on my guest in just a minute because she's got unbelievable perspectives. She's been around me. She calls me out on my shit. She tells me whether I'm in alignment or I'm not. She calls out my husband and myself on a daily basis. Because she's our litmus test on if we are doing what we say. And if we want to have, hey, Lee, it's good to see you, babe. If we want to have the most beautiful life and results in our life, results in business, results in family, results in serving the world, we have to take our time and start to lead. Ladies, we get stuck and we get nervous, we get afraid. Is it our time? You get stuck in this minutia of, do I got to learn all the marketing stuff? And we get lost. when all we have to do is go back inside and say, what is it that I know? What do I have? Who can I be for others? And then just start doing. Because the moment we start doing, the bigger and stronger we become. Hey, Hayes, what's up, girl? Right? The bigger and stronger we become. You know what's funny, Haley? We just had a memory about the event we had in Bali, and the video was freaking awesome. We had 80 people come to Bali for a big mastermind. All right, so why don't I do this? I'm going to bring on my guest. All right, let's get some excitement here, because I want to, if you know this woman, you know that she stands in her grace, and you might have seen her as an entrepreneur, and she's taken a big stand and said, you know what? I don't think entrepreneurialism is for me. And then we realized the definition of what she was observing of entrepreneurialism wasn't for her. And it wasn't the way that we're going to shift and change this world. And she called my husband out and I out strong and said, I don't think I want to do this anymore. It allowed us to really look at the way we were leading. So without further ado, Swan, roll on into the studio.
Bring it in the chair.
She's bringing in the chair. How are you guys? Yeah. Oh, I love it. Hey guys, good to see everyone. Oh, hey babe.
Love you.
Love you. Here we are. I mean, I get to grace and do this every day. This, this amazing woman sitting here and looking in the mirror every day and saying, am I being the woman that I say I'm being? So like, here I am, I'm doing my thing, right? This morning I got all excited. I'm like, Shanalay's been sitting here watching me. So I'm like, wow, our kids, our communities, they're watching us and they're telling us. Most of them may not be telling you, but when you have your kids and you open up the space so they can tell you, a lot of magic happens. So what's coming up for you just now, just from this message that we heard today? Because I want to talk about that, like, how you're observing, what you're seeing, and then the decisions that you made, to say, I don't know if I want to be an entrepreneur anymore.
Yeah. I feel like you said a lot of powerful stuff this morning, so I'm trying to pick and choose what I want to talk about first. But I think a big thing that came up for me recently was reflecting on entrepreneurialism and kind of taking a third-party approach, because I grew up my entire life with entrepreneur parents and surrounded by entrepreneurs and events and just a lot of people who were in that mindset of doing it on their own, creating something new. And I really started to look and see how I kind of viewed the space as well as the people in there. And when you're surrounded by those people in your life, you kind of start to get a good understanding of who they are inside based off of how they present themselves, off of how they share their work. And I really started to see that so many people out there who, like you were saying, who complain about not being able to make sales, who are angry, who are frustrated. And you can really see how they are in their life based off of how they show up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people in entrepreneurialism are fueled by, I need to make money. I need to do it quickly. I need to do it on my own. And when you find this newfound independence, a lot of that fuel comes from a place of necessity, of like trying to get, like being fueled by wealth, being fueled by monetary wealth.
Well, let's talk about that, because you've been to over 150 plus events in your life, right? Like you've been to so many different entrepreneurial events, and I think you're right. I think many sometimes we get lost in that message of, be your best version of yourself, just sell more and push harder, right? And that started to turn you off, because you started your company when you were 11, right? But you stood on stages and you shared your truth. Yeah. And it's interesting because people say, oh, well, Hanalei was, an entrepreneur, her family was an entrepreneur. That's why she had success at such a young age, right? She had a fashion company, and that's why, she only sold things because her parents and the people wanted to buy from her. But that's completely not true, Hanalei. You were walking your line and sharing your values. That's why people wanted to be part of what you had. But you got a little turned off because of the way certain people were speaking. And so let's go into that, because this is a reminder of all of us, like lead with our value, like lead with our heart and our impact.
Yeah, totally. And where I was going
Mhm.
with this whole direction of talking about where people are fueled by, I really think that it's such an important time now for people to really look inside themselves, really assess where their values are coming from. We are fueled by what we value, and we are fueled by the things that we value most in our life, really. And that is shown by how we present ourselves. And I see a lot of people get stuck in this space of necessity and need for, like, I need to make sales, I need to make profit. But I think there's such a different side to entrepreneurialism when you really are focused on your message, focused on sharing what your heart is.
Mhm.
And I think there's a totally different energy and perspective. And I really think it's such an important time now where people look inside themselves, reflect, and kind of discover what is fueling them the most. I've done this recently where I've kind of taken a step back from entrepreneurialism to really focus on my own learning growth within my homeschooling as well as within my art. And I've learned so much more about myself and realized that in reality, I don't want to be up on a huge stage. I don't want tons of people to be looking at me. I want to be able to make that connection with that one person. And I think this leads back to leadership.
Lead with your
Where
work.
it's less about I want to be a leader, I want to be at the front and center, because I feel like that's what often we think
Yeah.
of leaders are.
Yeah.
The ones who are taking charge, who are leading like these huge groups of people. But in reality, I really believe that leadership comes from action and comes from setting an example. And there's that different side to leadership that we don't see very often, where when you lead, you don't just lead with your word, but you lead with your heart and you lead with your actions. And I think that type of leadership is so much more impactful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. And this is brilliant. I mean, how many of you are feeling this? Because, like I'm who I say I am, right? I'm Rhonda. I love my family. I do everything, not only for myself. First, it has to go with ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves first. And that's why, we talk about this often in our family that, in an airplane, they say, put on your oxygen mask first. Because in order for me or for us to lead our communities or be a leader in our family or to be that mother, that guide in our family, we have to take care of ourselves first. And many mothers and women, we actually get stuck in that where we're just doing what's good for the family or we're overworking. Like I've been in that space, like, and you've called me out on it, right? Where I've been in that space where it's like, I'm just working, right? And you go, whoa, let's pull back a bit. Because right now, even let's say Hanalei in your generation, like what are our kids, what are they looking towards right now for their leadership? Who are they being guided by? Would you say kind of in your space?
Yeah, well, I feel like right now we're being led by a lot of. I actually watched this like really interesting video the other day about how the internet has kind of shifted in more of a need of accessity. We're seeing a lot of videos and a lot of people talking about buying like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of things, buying, like seeing a lot of videos from people who are super rich, wealthy, and have this excess. And we often look towards those people and kind of watch that to feel this like dopamine hit of, even though we might not be able to have that, we get to see it. And I think it comes from this place of like craving more. And we're setting up the internet is being set up in a way where we are constantly looking for more. And a lot of people aren't able to be content with themselves anymore. And I really see this where when we are fed so much about excess and so much about having the biggest car, like the best cars, the most shoes, the nicest houses.
Well, stop about shoes. Hold on. Shoes.
But
I mean, like, come on, it's real. I love my shoes. I'm sorry.
But when we're constantly being fed about this need for accessity, we lose this thought of contentment. And we lose this ability to be content within ourselves. And I see this with a lot of kids nowadays where, especially with social media, how kids have grown up with social media. Like, I've grown up in the social media age, so I definitely, when I'm saying this, I have experienced it, where we see so many people get so many likes, get so much praise, and it's all measured in numbers. And now we look for this permission or this acceptance within a numerical value.
Yeah.
And it's not, and now it's something so tangible where we're like, it's measurable. Before, it's like you would receive
It's
compliments.
almost like your self-worth is being judged
being tied to
every
it.
minute, right?
Yeah, and I really think that this time of excessity within social media, having excess amount of likes, having excess amount of things, we're really at a time where this is a mental health crisis.
Yeah.
And we can see this now with the rise in suicide rates, with the rise in depression and anxiety. And I feel like we're at a space where people are becoming so fueled by monetary wealth and by measurable forms of praise that we are losing ourselves slowly. And we don't see it because it's something that happens gradually over time. And I think this is really such an important time for self-reflection. That's why I brought up values earlier. And how, as entrepreneurs, how are you presenting yourself? Like, is your energy leading by, I need to make more money? Or are you leading by, I really care about my message? Because it is something that is so clear to see from a viewer, where you can see this person, okay, based off how they speak or how they carry yourself, you can see this person is trying to make a quick buck off of me, or this person really believes in what they are selling.
Well, this is what turns you off even in the marketing message, right? Like, I'm in marketing, right? We do this all the time, but it's like, and it's the way the narrative's coming off. And this is something that turned off on LA. She's like, you know, like this, it's like, so I almost had this, I want to say, like snake tongue sounding. And that entrepreneur bubble over here, that bro marketing, whatever you want to call it, I was in it. So, you know, I'm not judging, but there's a lot of messages, and you were learning from some of these very big stages and mentors. You know, we were going to these events and the message was just so slick tonguey. And you were going on to stages and it's like, what's the call to action, right? We're using these marketing terms. And it was like, whoa, hold on a minute. Like, yes, there are ways and psychological ways that we can market and sell more, right? But that message has to shift because, right? So tap on this, because this was a really big one in our family as well. And how we've moved so much into such a better, impactful, driven message.
Yeah, I really think that growing up, like, with entrepreneurs and being in an entrepreneurial space, like, it was very beneficial, and I would never want to change anything, but I also do see the good and bad with it. And like you said, having these terminologies is like a really young age.
Yeah.
Especially when I was just learning to like speak on stages about like, what is our sales pitch? What are we like?
It's our CTA.
Yeah, those little terms. I really started to like. There was points in time where, after seeing so many people talk that way, I'm like, as this like 12-year-old kid, I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna sell. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I saw myself start to fall into the space of, I need to make money again, because it was no longer from like, I don't want to say innocent, because I don't love that word, but like a kind of more clear way of speaking or field of view where I was just speaking based off of what I believed in. And there's a very different, I felt like it slowly started to grow into the space of, I need to be like the other entrepreneurs. I need to be like the other people speaking on stage.
And how many people get stuck in that? They have a mentor and they just follow what they do, right?
Yeah, and I feel like when you start to surround yourself with people that you aspire to be like, you kind of begin to forget yourself. And it's a great place to learn, to grow. But I think it's really important that people tune into who they are, what they value at their core. And I feel like that is what thrives innovation, because if we keep on only reflecting off of what people are doing right now, we're never going to be able to grow farther, and we're never going to be able to make more of an impact because we're only staying stagnant with what other people are doing. And so touching on that, as well as what I was speaking about earlier with this need for accessity. I think it's such an important time because we are going through a mental health crisis with people. I think it's such an important time for self-reflection, as well as just tuning into your value. I'm keep on saying value because I really want to like cement this in. What are your values? Why are you selling? What is your why? I think that is such an important question that I remember.
Well, it gets overused a lot too. Like it has so much depth of meaning, importance.
And I remember you asking me this when I was a really young kid, when I was just first starting to be an entrepreneur. And like, what is my why? I'm like, I want to be happy. That was what I was always said. What is my purpose? I'm here to be happy, and I'm here to hopefully inspire just one person to live and do what they love. You know, like living in that space of I want to be happy and I want to do what I love. That is what fueled me. And I think when we really reflect, like, okay, what is your why? Why are you speaking? Why are you creating? Is it for your kids? Is it for yourself? Is it for the people in your life? Like, what is the reason why you are presenting yourself? And when we look into that, we can really pick apart and choose, like, okay, this is what I want to continue doing. This is how I need to change my direction. And I think when we all take a bit of time to self-reflect, we can really tune in and create like a much larger and much more like, we create a new energy with our work, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, this is the great thing. You know, the topic today, of course, is leadership and entrepreneurialism. But, you know, being a leader doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur. You know, we're leaders in our families, like especially, you know, women. Like here we are, you're an author in our books. Hanale's been a chapter in every one of our books that we've written. And it's been amazing to be able to see this. And you're also a writer in the magazine. I mean, like there's a lot of beautiful things that come from this. But a lot of this growth within our relationship within you has been because you've said no a lot too, right? You've said no. And we as parents have to listen, because like for a while there, we were like drivers. Okay, we're going to do this. If she says she wants this, we're going to push it and we're going to do it. We're going to go, go, go. And all of a sudden she went, no. There's so much power in no, especially as a leader and as a business owner. Literally recently, I've literally fired like 3 or 4 clients, super high level, amazing human beings that just weren't respecting our values. They weren't having the same values that we had. And normally as an entrepreneur, you're like, gosh, if someone's willing to pay that much, you never let them go. But when is it going to end, right? When does it end where we get to say what we want and where that happiness lies within you? So will you share a bit about like your, I guess, I don't know if it's a revelation, I don't know where it came from, this power of saying no, because I think this is big for all of us, whether we're an entrepreneur or just, you know, we're just a human, and we're thriving to grow. We're thriving to, you know, have a beautiful life. You know, we do have to live within the constructs of what's going on in the world, right? We have to navigate in this world. But how do you say no and still serve and feel fulfilled?
Yeah, I think boundaries are very important.
Yeah.
And I think it's something where people often forget what boundaries really mean and what it means for you, because boundaries are different for everyone. Whether you're setting boundaries in your relationship, whether you're setting boundaries with people, with your energy, with yourself and what you're doing. And recently, this idea of boundaries have really came up for me.
Yeah.
And the power of saying no. I feel like as entrepreneurs, since we are independent, since we're doing it on our own, we often forget to set those boundaries with what we're willing to do. And we get to accept everything because we're like, oh, I love this. I'm passionate about this. I'm just going to say yes. And we take on a lot of opportunities that start to fill up our plate. And we start to kind of be like trapped and, oh no, this tide is rising. We're going too far. And I found myself doing this a lot, especially recently, where I haven't been willing to say no to a lot of projects that maybe haven't fulfilled me as much, but I think I needed to say it because that's what I'm supposed to do. We often set these expectations of this is who we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to show up in life. And it all centers from these expectations we hold ourselves to, based off the people who we are surrounded with. I remember growing up, I still hold myself up to a very high expectation of I need to, since I've been speaking all my life, every talk needs to be really good and I need to feel really confident. And just as like an example, And I realized that when I did not meet my expectations, when I felt sad after I did a talk, that hurt my self-esteem so deeply.
Yeah.
And when we hold ourselves up to these expectations and don't set boundaries on where we're willing to go in that distance of energy, I find myself being very sensitive, and I want to have so many people. I want to help as many people as I can, but I realize the best way I can help others is for me to help myself first.
Yeah.
And for me to feel confident and happy within myself. So yeah, I think really the important thing is learning to stand up and learning to allow yourself to be confident with saying no, and be confident with not having to accept everything in your life. I remember a big story when I was really young. I spoke on stage and
Really
had my
young.
first
So Hanale's 16. So she was really young. What were you, like 8 or 10?
Yeah, I think this was at like 11 or 12.
Yeah, okay.
But it was my first fashion show, and I remember getting presented by an investor about around $30 million.
Wow, this was huge, right?
Worth of an investment into my company for fashion design and for wanting to upscale my company at the time, HS Styles. And it was a really big offer. And I feel like a lot of people, when you get those big offers, it's almost like, this is all the money I could have ever wanted, all the money I could have ever dreamed for. But I turned the offer down because the investor did not align with my values and did not agree with what my company wanted to do. And I realized that it was a very difficult decision to say no, but I realized I had to look within my values and be like, okay, is this money worth it if I'm compromising the core of why I started? And this is why values are so important, because then you discover and you're able to so easily decipher what you can say yes to and what you can say no to. And even though it was a huge sum of money and it would have been an amazing opportunity, I realized that for me and where I wanted to go, that was not the right direction. And I think that's one of the best decisions I was able to ever make, because I felt so much more set on who I was. I felt so much more confident with my word. And I really was able to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is not what other people want me to do, because when I talked with my parents, they're like, we got to take this offer. We got to go for it.
What were the values that he was compromising? Because this was really important. And this is also when Brian and I realized the values that Hanale held, and how, like, oh, thank goodness we set this at an early age to her and helped her establish what her values are. And then we were like starting to fall off because we didn't actually fully understand what Hanale's values were until you spoke up. And you're like, no, I don't want, right?
Yeah. And for me, my values for my company especially was creating fashion sustainably and ethical, and making sure I treated humans with respect and not like machines. There's a lot of corruption within the fashion industry and how clothing is manufactured. And I really wanted to make pieces that were ethical, sustainable, with high quality fabrics, and with humane working conditions. And by accepting the $30 million investment, as well as that would mean I would have to outsource to sweatshops. That would mean I would have to downgrade my fabric. And that would mean I would have to sell in places that I was not comfortable with, or that I had spoken out in the past that I didn't agree with.
Well, okay, so I'm going to bring this up because this is really important right now, because what he did, and this is what happens often. So this is that old entrepreneur bubble that I said, and then let's look at the new earth, is he's like, Hanale, I'm going to put, so here's this seed of making you feel like you're not good enough, right? Which is often the message that comes out and why it has to shift. He's like, I'm going to put you on Madison Avenue. We're going to put your name in lights. You're going to, I'm going to invest $30 million. Imagine if you made $100 million every single year. Now I want 70% of your company, of course, but I'm going to give you all this fame, right? And we're going to outsource, so you don't have to work so much every day in your little shop of 6 little dudes that are working, and we're going to have bigger people managing it. And that was when you're like, whoa, like, no, you don't get what I am. It's not about the fame, the lights, the money. And it's about the people. It's about what I care about the planet. And that's how we start relating. Like this guy was selling on what he thought her values were, but it was tricking, almost trying to trick our value system. And this is what we see often in entrepreneurialism. You're tricking people to think they have less. That's why social media and all these, oh, you could have the life like this. Look at my life as this. Look at it's like, what is our life? Like, what do we have right here in our own little bubble? What should we focus on?
Totally.
And
I think a huge thing that has showed up for me recently, and it's been a word that's kind of been my word of like the last 2 months, has been contentment and being content within myself. And I feel like we put on a lot of stress onto ourselves, and we need to be better. We need to upscale. Everything in entrepreneurialism is about scale. It's about growing. It's about always achieving the next step, because when you're independent, you always have to be fueled by the next step and growing farther. And I think a huge thing is that we're lacking nowadays is learning to be content with the now. And it's not
I'm good enough.
And I think the word content has kind of been like skewed into a perspective of, oh, everything's okay. Like, you don't need to grow. You don't need to improve. It's just kind of like flat and stagnant.
Well, because everyone says success loves speed, right? But that actually I believe me, I know it. I have to always admit.
I know definitely for
you. I mean, I love to go fast. I love to do things. However, but feeling good about it. That's why we've been talking a lot about the book called The Gain in the Gap by Dan Sullivan. It's powerful because most of us are living in the gap. Meaning we're just constantly like, it's not enough. It's not enough. One day, I'll be better. I'll be better. I'll be fitter. I'll be happier. I'll be healthier. I'll be this way. Instead of living in the gain going, wow, look what I just did. Like content. Wow. Look what I just did.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think when we're able to be at peace, maybe at peace might be
is a better word than just contentment, right?
I really resonate with the word contentment right now.
Because it makes you feel good.
It feels, I'm like,
got a good vibration.
Now I'm content with my emotional state. I'm content with where I'm working. I'm content with what hours I'm doing, how I feel. But I feel like maybe at peace might resonate with a lot more people, where you're able to be at peace with how you feel, the amount of work you're doing, what your life looks like. Because often we look towards the negatives in life of, I'm not happy where I'm at. I'm not happy with the people that are in my life. I'm not happy with the place I live, you know? Instead of looking at the world and being like, I get to live here. Wow. It's like this positive versus negative outlook. Is the glass half full or glass half empty? And I think that when we are able to start looking at our life more positively in a way of, okay, things are going to happen, things are going to grow, but I'm happy with the now. I'm happy with being present. Instead of always looking towards craving the future or craving the past, just finding peace in the now will set your mind up for it'll set your mind up in a way where you can be more fueled by improvement. You can be more fueled by joy and kind of, it's because you're literally
at peace.
But you're
at peace. And this is kind of where I was going this morning. It's like, we're so often we're just not at peace. And the reason why things aren't working is when you're at peace is when you're aligned. When you're aligned. You're at peace because you're at peace with yourself. You're at peace with your relationships. You're at peace with your family, with your health, with the way your mind thinks, the way you are, just the way you're sitting, right? When someone's at peace, when they're not at peace. And this is also, why, I'm always being called and knowing that we're being called as leaders in the world right now are looking for leaders. And if we don't take that calling, because at our core, all of us are leaders, we're coaches, we're consultants, we're all of that, especially if you're a mother, right? Because we are leading our family. And that's, why, all the women that come forward, within our Women Go Wild space, everyone's being cultivated as that leader. Everyone that says yes, it's like, okay, I'm saying yes to the wild framework, right? And that's not easy to follow because, we talk about redefining wealth, and your chapter in redefining wealth was completely different than money. It was about, what was yours?
My chapter was about collecting memories over things
Yeah.
and really valuing the moments over monetary gain.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was
Yeah. And so, I mean, and mine was about brand currency. Wealth is in the way that, your brand, the way you tell your story, who you are, the energy that you bring forward can create a lot of currency for you. And it's like, but the framework every day we have to always look and say, am I being this? Or am I focused on money wealth, right? Is that just what I'm focusing on?
Yeah.
Because I guide myself every day, and we're always looking for women that are ready to live into this framework and to say, I'm wild, I'm chosen. Like I'm here. I know that at the core, I've been asked to lead and to step into my leadership and to lean into what my piece is so that others can be magnetically attracted, because your frequency levels go all the way up to the Richter scale, right? And when we look at like Stephen Hawking's scale of frequency, it's like most people are radiating right now or vibrating at like 200, which is just into courage and hope, just tapping into it. Most of us are tapping down into fear, uncertainty, right? So every day, and that's why every day we're looking and cultivating ourselves. We do have our intuition books coming up, so we're pretty excited about this one too. We have a big, beautiful retreat that I've been planning in Sedona, Arizona next June. And it's about our short stories of our intuition, either how we play, how we listen to it, how it's played a role in our life. Do you want to share a little bit about your chapter?
Yeah, my
Get everyone
chapter,
inspired to get ready for the next book.
for me, intuition. For this intuition book, I really spoke about how to use creativity in order to get tapped with your intuition.
Yeah.
And I think for me at least, creativity has been such a huge asset, as well as being an artist in painting and writing. I've used my creativity in order to get more tuned with myself and get more tuned with who I am, as well as using my intuition in order to discover what I want to be as a creator. And I think they really go hand in hand. And even if you're not an artist, even if you don't consider yourself a creator, we all create in one way or another, whether it's through what you do for work, whether it's how you express yourself, whether you cook, you dance. In one way or another, you are creative, and using your intuition, you can get in tapped with that and in tune with that so much more.
Well, and you get you feel and you get that like energetic hit as well.
Yeah.
Like some people are like, oh, that was my intuitive, that's my gut feeling, right? Like, are we listening? Because all of us are so connected to source. The moment we're in that moment of peace, right? Then that's when we actually start to feel. When our nervous systems are so whacked out and we're striving for the next thing, or we're fighting for the money, or we're just selling, we actually remove that directed connect to source, whether it's universe, God, whatever you want to call it, because all of it's welcome here, because that's what we do. We embrace our belief systems and our diversity. Yet moment we give ourselves that space, it's like, that's that hit. That's that intuitive hit I've got. And I found myself, I'll get like all busy. And then I'm like, oh, I need to stop. I need to do some meditation. I need to do some breath work. I need to just get away so I can feel again. Because the moment we start to feel, then that's the beauty that we have as women, right? We're creators. We create life. We give life. And the moment that we know that, then we are taking this calling to lead and to rise and to be that beam of light and energy on our stages, in our communities, in our family. Like every day I'm like, the things that I say and do, I'm like, oh man, Hanalee's watching me. Now she gets to judge however she wants me and the things that I do, and that's the beauty of being able to decide, is that how I want to lead? And that's what we're all looking for, right? We're looking for, like, who do I align with enough that says, yeah, that's where I want to be guided. And I've had mentors, and people in my life that I gravitated towards because I loved what they were doing with their life and the way they spoke. And we've got, I call it my board of directors, right? And my board of directors, like, who I look for in business, who I look for in my spirituality, who I'm guided with in marketing, who I'm guided with in the way that I communicate my message. Because man, our words are so powerful. And we right now, as women especially, and men, are being called to lead. And if you are not even resonating with that right now, that's also why many things may not be working in our lives or in our families, or we're diseased, is because we're listening to the garbage that's being told to us. Do this to be healthy, to stay safe, right? Make sure you do that. That isn't what's going to help us. We're going to help us. Our bodies were built to heal, right? And so today, I mean, I know we're getting at the top of the hour, and please share with your comments here on how you feel about this message, because Hanale and I was like, you know what? Let's come together. Let's get a little raw. I host a lot of people on my shows. I host a lot of people that give them the platform. And I'm like, you know what? This week, this is the platform. This is the time, right? Where I get to come out and say my rawness. And then Hanale and I were having this talk. I'm like, would you come out, please, and help balance, right? My rawness, a little bit more grounded. Because for me, being a woman in leadership is everything about how I'm leading my family first, how I lead for myself, my God, and my family. And we're excited because we're calling in those women that are really ready to be guided by, their leadership. And it's kind of fun. We have this next book that's coming out is actually leadership, go figure. 2025. So we're asking for women to come forward, and we're doing something kind of special with this book. We are having women that have daughters that would like to also be and write a chapter in the book. We already have several women with their daughters, because Hanale, I've been able to experience Hanale. She's been in our book. She's written chapters for every one of the topics of the books. And I'm like, gosh, what a beautiful experience I've had. What if I allowed for or brought in women that wanted to not only share their story and their leadership story, but also allow their daughters. So that's what we're doing for this next book. It's kind of like the next book with a twist. Women it's not just women with daughters. However, we are any woman that says yes, we're inviting their daughters also to say yes too. And so that we can experience this together and be part of this wild world, be part of this space of really tuning in. And so I want to thank you, Hanale, for all that you do. And thank you, Sarah, for, being here. And, it's something that every day we have to just remind ourselves, what is it going to take for us to make this world a better place? What does it take for us to be better humans? And it means we have to start with ourselves. Let's not look anymore around us for, external validation, because we don't need it. And we deserve to really truly look at ourselves and what we are, and allow and bring our audience together. That's what it is. It's about. And so thank you guys for being here. And I put down the app here down below. We also have a really cool group, the Wild Tribe, that live you guys can be part of. That we host these masterminds every week, and we bring on new speakers, etc. And we're building and cultivating this new energy, this new form of women leadership and women coming together and rising together. But the only way we're going to do it is if we do come together with our ideas, our thoughts, all of these beautiful things. And so any closing notes you might have, my dear?
Yeah, thank you. I feel like we wrapped it up pretty well. I think we touched on a lot of good stuff today, and I really just want to say thank you to everyone who listened, who sat here with us and commented. It really means a lot. So yeah,
it does. Thank you. So go out, lead today. It's your calling. Are you ready to lead? Let's do it. Let's rise together, lead together. Come inside of our wild world. We'd love to have you there, whether you're in the book or you're, just part of our community. It's time for women to really be there for each other. And it's time to rise. All right, ladies, have a great one. Don't forget to be unstoppable and stay wild.
To be a woman gone wild means to live beyond the conditioning and the constructs of the world we once knew, and be the woman who has broken free of the chains that once contained her. At a rapid pace, the world is shifting. This change has called you into realms of divinely guided leadership and into a movement of wild women who have linked arms to fearlessly live, fearlessly lead, and fearlessly love. Where the voice that guides us expands from within, where head-led living is being replaced with a devotion to heart-led leadership and pure alignment. Every single woman is a leader. You, Queen, are a leader, which is why you arrived here. Whether you are leading yourself, your family, or your community, whether you are single, married, a mother, an entrepreneur, a healer, or a woman with a dream, you belong here. Feminine leaders have been called to rise and stand front and center to share their voices and evoke waves of change across our planet. When a wild woman speaks, people listen. They hear her, they are moved by her, and they tell others of her. As the world revolutionizes, the foundation of this new construct lies in the strength of community. Connection and courage have already begun to form as the cornerstones of which the pinnacle to our greatest awakening will be built. You have been called to be unafraid, to feel deeply, to lean into the nudge that continues to whisper within. Link arms with us. Rise fearlessly.